Hi friend, Niclas here. Welcome to another episode of the Your Audio Solutions podcast, where it's my mission to find the tools and methods from the people that inspire you so you can apply their knowledge to your own life and work. And on the show today, we have the inventor of the circle guitar, Anthony Dickens. The circle guitar is part electric guitar, part sequencer, part synthesizer, part endless idea generator. Simply put, the circle guitar is an awesome new invention by Anthony Dickens, as I just mentioned previously. And if you haven't seen this guitar, definitely go check it out on YouTube. Just search circle guitar or find it on Instagram. I'll leave links to that in the description below. But it's such a cool guitar. It's so awesome to see a guitar like this coming onto the market. And it has a wheel, and the wheel can spin, and it strums the strings for you, and you have all this. It frees up your right hand basically, so you can control the synthesizer. You can do other stuff you couldn't do if you had to strum the strings, and it's such a cool invention. And it was really awesome talking to Anthony about it and learning more about how it all works, how he came up with the idea, and a lot more. So I really hope you enjoyed this interview with Anthony. But as you can see, I guess, behind me is getting empty, although there's an orange amp, so that came into the picture. But this is the last time you'll see an interview being made in this room here, because we're actually moving from London to Leeds, which is exciting. And if you live in Leeds, please let me know. It would be cool to connect with some music people in Leeds, get something musical going. So leave a comment below or just send an email. But obviously the podcast will continue in Leeds, so just a new setting behind me. That would be the only difference for you. But other than that, before we get into the interview, please check out the Audio Tribe email list. There's a link to that in the description below. Just enter your name and email address, and you have joined the Audio Tribe email list. And if you join, you get exclusive access to interviews before the public. You also get a chance to ask up-and-coming guests questions and a lot more. And also feel free to subscribe to the channel, either if that's here on YouTube or Apple Podcast or Spotify, wherever you are listening and watching this show. Your support really helps grow the channel, and it's awesome to see that we're growing slowly but steadily, and that's all thanks to you. So I really do appreciate your support. But that's enough of me talking. Let's get into the interview with Anthony Dickens. So please enjoy.
How you doing? I like your background. Nice little orange up there.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, we're just about to move, so everything is a bit all over the place.
Okay. Where are you based?
London?
How are you? Whereabouts?
Crystal Palace.
Oh, very nice. Where are you moving to?
We're moving to Leeds.
Okay. Right. Going up north.
Exactly.
Nice.
Where are you based? You sound a bit northern too, maybe.
No, I'm in Somerset House.
I'm northern.
He's northern. My business partner Luke's from where are you from again?
Bradford.
Bradford.
Cool. Where's Bradford again? I'm terrible with the geography.
Next to Leeds. You'll find out when you get to Leeds. To be honest, I'm a southerner, so my knowledge of the north is pretty limited myself. So it's all a bit of a blur up there. Just like those northerners, just forget me.
I guess they're a special kind, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're a special case. They're a unique breed of Britain.
Some say
the best. They're always friendly, and they like a laugh. You'll enjoy yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Where are you from? You know, man, your Niclas is spelt like. Am I going to say Eastern Europe, like Polish or something, or like no?
a bit more west and a bit more north, but not too much.
Where from then? Dane.
Sweden.
Sweden.
Yeah.
Nice.
I guess it's easily confused with a Polish guy. Maybe.
Well, we're just idiot English. You know, we don't know much. We're leaving Europe. We don't. Let's not get into that.
Yeah, I mean, God knows what's happening with that. Hopefully we'll see a deal in the end, but who knows?
Yeah. You know, maybe the gamble might be worth it one day, but I don't quite see the whole point of it right now.
No.
I think I'm worried it's going to get in the way of selling expensive, crazy guitars to out there musicians. that's my fear. Imagery and stuff like that might be pretty painful.
How would that affect your guitar business?
I don't know.
Right.
We've yet to sell one. I think we've got we had a meeting, about our third meeting, with a UK-based guitar company who do incredibly amazing. I think they're the best in the country, I think, in terms of technology and what they do. And they can do very high-end one-offs, and they can do batch production on medium volume. And they've just recently done they've partnered with a Korean company and have done much higher volume guitars, taking down from from $4,500 to about 550 quid. So they've got the whole range, and they're basically just saying, well, we'll list the price without the import duty, so it looks like we've dropped our prices. And I'll just, obviously it's going to affect people, but who knows? I mean, just no one's dead yet, so just carry on, don't you? You just kind of, where there's a will, there's a way,
Exactly. Yeah, it's a shame, but I'm glad you found that company to work with. Do you want to say the name, or is it off the record?
Well, it's not announced yet. I want to scream it because it's great. It's got a very, very famous musician two that are involved in it, and I think they're slightly under the radar. I mean, Britain's not really. You'll find articles about. When I first was doing this project, I was like, well, what British guitar companies are there? I didn't even find this company. They weren't very good at marketing themselves. I still don't think they are. They're doing great product, and they're getting more known. But you've then got people online going, yeah, Britain's never been good at making guitars. They make great amps, Marshall and Vox, and and there's been a few guitar brands in their time, but nothing rivaling Fender or Gibson or something like that. And I guess probably nobody ever will rival those guys. But what I do know is, that they find Fender is particularly, chatting to Ed O'Brien, who's obviously done he's got a guitar out with Fender, and they're saying, the kind of the Strat and the Telecaster, and they're almost, they're a big weight around their shoulders. It's like that's what's defined them. And I think that, they're full of ideas, but they probably find it harder to get those out because, everyone wants a Strat, and I'm going to I could probably ruffle quite a few feathers, but I think, musical instrument companies and musicians in general, they think they're not actually that out there. They're actually all quite conservative. They are. There are many musicians who are only want to play within, a genre that's kind of been defined and done, and they're quite strict, and they want, it's like I'm a blues player. I play the blues, or I play jazz, and obviously jazz, and it's what it's meant to be is taking styles from everywhere. And actually the UK jazz scene is really starting to explode again as it's come back to its true meaning of absorbing all sorts of different genres. There is no such thing as that is jazz,
Right.
And that's coming back. But when I first put the guitar out on some guitar forums, which is obviously full of guys who are just, you've got
toxic.
They're technical players. They're pure.
Right.
They've put the hours in to perfect their craft. And it's true. It's like, the better you are at the language of guitar and of music, the more rich your vocabulary of playing. But I come at it from a designer's perspective of going, and I'm not particularly good at technically good at guitar, but what I want to do is create new sounds and textures and I'm interested from a designer's perspective about the interaction of the player and the guitarist, and the guitar and how that comes together. And I'm only interested in, and I listen to music which is trying to push new boundaries. That's what I'm interested in, new structures. What the hell's that sound? How have they done that? That's what I find really exciting. It's just first time you hear something and it just totally changes the way you experience music. First time I ever felt sub bass in a club move my insides. It's like, what the actual fuck is going on? It feels really weird, and that, but those sort of things you never forget. So
Exactly.
as a result, some people have just turned around and gone, this is a disgrace almost. This is, stop this. What are you doing? This is not a guitar. Yeah, it probably isn't a guitar, but
They're saying that about the circle guitar?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like I had comments going, how I couldn't play blues on that. It's like, well, no, I'm not expected to play blues, or and you get these two kind of camps, really. I think you've got the guys who, like Ed O'Brien, is firmly in this camp, obviously being a part of Radiohead, but even within Radiohead, he's the guy who comes up with a lot of these crazy sounds, and he's always pushing it. And he's interested in effects and what, and how guitar, it can kind of, the sound can move on and sound otherworldly and different, and that, that's his motivation. And then you've got the technical player on either side. So, and I realised that when I started posting it, is actually the kind of, what suddenly struck me was all these kind of, let's call them purists, often idolise a set time in music and genre, and they want to explore that, and they push that within those tight constraints. But what I find interesting is that the real, the heroes of that particular genre, they were once an agitator. They were once the person who came along and everyone went, what is that? That is nonsense, and all the kind of the old guard would be like, that's not music. This happened with the Beatles, for Christ's sake, and who would say that now?
Exactly.
So, and so I hope that the guitar is kind of giving, those kind of musicians the new tool to create the new music, to create the new, sounds and structures and things to move music on. And then that's the dream.
Exactly. I mean, I think we're saying is really interesting. And also when you deal with those people on the forums, you're always going to find the purists, so to speak, and they're always going to be annoying, for lack of a better word. They're always going to be, oh, it's not blues, so who the hell are you? But those are not your customers in the end, I guess, anyway.
No, but I think I love reading what they have to say. It's totally valid, and it's, music is obviously quite tribal, and I'm somebody who genuinely likes lots of different genres of music. I can watch a documentary about the history of absolutely anything. It could be, the Spice Girls, or it could be something far more avant-garde and experimental. The story is often, it still is fascinating, and it's still, everything is valid in that sense. But yeah, I'm hopeful that it gets picked up and it gets used in some way I've yet to understand. And sorry, my point being before was getting the negative. I think you can never have a product if everyone likes it, it's just vanilla, If I think I suddenly realized that for some people to truly love something, you've got to have other people who really, really hate it. What it defines for the person that really loves it is going to be absolutely the reason why the other person hates it. And the obvious thing is, so many guitarists hate electronic music. They hate the precision of it. They hate techno. They think it's not real music. A lot of them hate rap. They don't think that's real. And I love the precision of electronic beats and what you can do, the complexity of that, the fact that, you can create drum sounds which, transcend entirely what a human being can do when they play a live kit. So to combine this rhythmic precision onto a guitar, but you've still got the string, which the string is unpredictable. The string never strikes and it vibrates exactly the same each time. So it's a more interesting sound than just a sample going do, 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 do. And then you've kind of got all the harmonics that you can play, because it's going around this other hand, which doesn't do the traditional thing, can start interacting with the strings in different ways. So you just get, you get these new opportunities to, create these sonic melting pot. I don't know, whatever, how you describe it.
Yeah, definitely.
You get unique sounds out of it.
I mean, because I'm a person who also is very fascinated by sound and effects and modular synths and synths in general. And
yeah,
well, that's when I saw your guitar. I was like, damn, what the hell is this? This is like, this is so fucking awesome, basically. And I mean, your reference to guitarists and rock guys maybe not liking rap and hip hop, and I'm definitely one of those. I don't like that music. Like it's not a personal preference.
Yeah,
However, when it comes to like modular synths, which in my brain that's where this guitar almost fell into, because
yeah,
you have so many options and you still need to know some degree some technical stuff. And I think that's why I fell in love with this guitar because it is so modular synthy.
yeah.
You know, if that makes sense.
It does. But what I'm trying to do is blur the boundaries a little bit, and I can't say too much, but what you're seeing on YouTube right now is extremely pedestrian to where we are taking the guitar.
Oh yeah.
What it's going to be able to do. So, no, I mean, just to say, there's going to be a two-way interaction between modular and the guitar. So not only will the guitar be producing signals that we can put into Eurorack or even MIDI directly into a DAW, it will then come out the other way. So it's got this, once you've got a time code which is perfectly synced with whatever your drum machines or your DAW is playing, or is synced to a Eurorack, you then can start to do precision time-based effects. And obviously I've got VCAs and VCFs, and I've got little it's great, obviously there's don't want to get too kind of gear heady, but like Nit Rider's a lovely little a kind of sequencer which has got 6 channels, and I can then rhythmically open and close each string separate to what the wheel is doing, and then you can start to combine those two things, and then you can start getting into probability based ideas, and away you go, and you've got this potentially doing things at such incredible speeds with such incredible precision that it's like, I'm interested in seeing what it does. I still don't quite know where it's going to go, and that's the exciting thing. And also, it's in a guitar shape, but is it a guitar? I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's got the basic parts of it, but it could be anything. I mean, it could be any kind of stringed instrument. It just happens. It's the guitar is the thing I play least badly, so it went into that.
Makes sense.
And you're still, but through playing it, I'm still sort of discovering kind of new techniques and new things, new ways of getting sounds out of it, just beyond any of the kind of audio manipulation. Because you've got kind of 3 things. You've got how you directly interact with it and the harmonics and fingers and two-fingered chords and all these kind of things. You've got what the motor can do, what the wheel can do. Currently, it's only going one direction. We're obviously going to get it going 2 directions. The wheel does not have to spin regularly. It can go all over the place, and do these very unique things. And then you've got the audio and what that can do. So combine the physics of the wheel, the audio manipulation. Actually, you combine those 2 things anyway, and then you've also got the interaction of your playing style. Then it's, and that's what excites me. I can't wait to give it to a real virtuoso guitar player who can play and do all the kind of lead stuff. Because I'm not a lead player at all. I don't know what they'll end up doing. It's going to be pretty fascinating to see.
That's very exciting, man. But can you tell us about the story behind the guitar? Because how does anyone come up with a guitar that has a wheel in it? Like what's the story?
It's weird. I mean, I had the idea many years ago, and I was genuinely just driving down the motorway in a slight, I get ideas in several areas really. One is, shower in the morning, driving a car. They're all similar. It's like white noise. Your brain's just kind of phasing out. You're not really, you're slightly hypnotized, aren't you? I think, that's the reality of it. And I was just trying to think of ways of coming up. Because I'm a product designer. I graduated back in '97 in design, but I left wanting to be a musician. I was producing kind of bad drum and bass sort of Aphex Twin music, but at the time, there was no sort of hard disk recording. It was all sort of samplers. It was very, and there was no YouTube, so you had Sound on Sound magazine. It's quite hard to learn all all that kind of stuff. But I did, but I wasn't particularly good at it. But I was interested in the guitar as my main instrument, thinking what could I do with it that would, I don't know, just sort of, is there something new you could do with it? And I just had this, it pretty much fully formed as a concept of a wheel going round, either over the top or underneath the strings with plectrums. And the first one I did was an acoustic guitar, which was literally just a plastic wheel. I put a round door handle, like cabinet handle, on the top of it. I drilled through the acoustic guitar, put a bolt in, couple of skateboard ball bearings, and I just was moving it around like that. The first plectrums I put in literally, I think, broke strings because you realise actually when you put the plectrum in, and it's got no forgiveness of your hand. It's actually brutal. So I had to then I found the lightest possible picks you could get, and even that was too strong. So then I cut them up into little brushes, and it was light enough to then create this really nice sound. And it was like I kind of created this track with sort of like some sort of hip hoppy thing, which sounded like a swarm of bees almost. This guitar, like this kind of constant strumming. It's like, but it was different to anything else. I thought, well, that's interesting. I banged a motor on that eventually, and that's as far as I kind of got. And it's been one of these ideas that just sort of sat there and hadn't really done. It was like, this is the ridiculous idea I've had. It's almost, some of my friends just laughed at it. It's like, it was like, go on, Ant, play that crazy music. They were literally laughing about how mental it was. But roll on a few years. I had some kids. My design career kind of got going, and I'd stopped writing music, and I wanted to get back into writing music. And I thought, well, the only interesting thing I've ever done was that guitar. And I'm in Somerset House Makerversity, surrounded by engineers. And I also had met this guy called Paul Epworth, who's a music producer. He co-wrote Adele's stuff. He did the James Bond song. He's produced everyone from U2 to bloody, the Horrors, to all sorts of people. Mm-hmm. And he's a really sound guy. And I showed it to him as a picture, and he went, "What the fuck?" I've never seen anything like it. And every time I was with him and he'd introduce, this is Ant, he's done this most amazing guitar, and he was showing it to musicians. They were like, fuck, I want to have a go on that. And I was like, okay, well, maybe it isn't as mad as I thought it was. So I've spent the last 2 years taking what was just a very basic thing that couldn't sync with a computer or do anything like that. It was just very crude, into what we have now. And it's taken a long time. And actually, Luke, he's not here, he's just left, but I met him, and he got it really going, and his specialism was actually taking 360 photographs and putting objects on a turntable which move very precisely around, so that you can sequence those photographs and get those things on the internet where you can spin an image around. Right. He had the combined understanding of the electronics and all the and the coding, so combining the electromechanical and the coding together, and the understanding of what is required for the motors to work very precisely. I mean, every time this wheel spins around, we've got 4,500 positions. That it's got that accuracy every rotation. Right. And yeah, we got it up and running. And then this was just literally around, just as lockdown really kicked in. We just managed to get the guitar to a certain point. It was literally like. And to be honest, I think I might have even had to run down to Luke's house and pick it up and run away with it. So, the early stages. It's work related, isn't it? Yeah. And then I kind of sat there for about a month. I was sort of scared of it. I was sort of trying to work things out. And then I started doing these videos. I put one out. And then I thought, on Instagram, let's start contacting people directly. So I contacted a number of kind of music megastars, and within about 2 hours, Ed O'Brien had got back to me saying, "Holy shit, this looks amazing." So we kind of said, "I'd love to have a go on it." So I was going to go to his. He goes, "Well, maybe it's easier if I come around to yours." I was like, "Yeah, great." So 5 days later, he came to my house, and I've got this in my little loft. I've got where I'm working from home. I've got a few bits of kit. So he came up, really enjoyed it. Said, "Look, can you video me playing it? I would love to put it out on my Instagram." And then he posted it an hour or so later, and it got, I don't know, there was 35,000 likes and 500 comments, and then other people start coming out of the woodwork. You know, I'd love to, I can't really say yet because it's not official. But all these sort of things start happening, and we went, right, let's start a company, let's do it. So Luke and I have a deal. We've started Circle Instruments. We're talking with this guitar company. We're talking with other people. We've got quite a few other ideas, but the key thing for us is, and the thing that interests us both is, it's the start of. It's all about physical interaction. We don't want to just create another MIDI device, or we're really interested in organic matter, hitting organic matter. As product designers, as physical product designers, because people call themselves product designers now, just do software development. But as a industrial physical designer, I'm interested in objects and the sound that they create, and how objects, are kind of slightly been overlooked, I think, especially in music now. There's so many people doing apps, so many people, obviously huge rise in guitar effects pedals, which is also fantastic. But again, they're all, in that much more in a kind of digital or analog kind of circuitry. For me, it's like almost going back. So you've got digital, analog, and before that you have mechanical. And I kind of feel there's quite a lot we can do in mechanical that has sort of been overlooked, especially now with the control you can have from physical for digital control over analog and mechanical things starts to create new possibilities. And also, once you start looking at instruments that are made because they're constrained around the human body, you can use mechanics to actually extend the reach of an arm, or the this length of the hand. It's and then that opens up more opportunities, and then this I'm concentrating on getting the circle guitar done, because it's like all this is chat. I want to get one product delivered that works fantastically well. The guitar company that's going to producing it will mean that the build of this guitar will be second to none, and then on top of that we're going to have all this incredible circuitry and software and everything that makes it work really brilliantly. And then we just want to keep coming up, keep developing these ideas that are offering new possibilities to musicians, and expanding what is physically possible and sonically possible. Right. And that's the thing that excites me. We're creating creative tools for other musicians. It's like, here's the thing, this is what I can do with it, and what I'm interested to see is like what you can do with it, or what they can do with it, and then what happens when they start getting together and sharing ideas. And I don't know, who knows where it's going to end up.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah. How did you go about meeting Paul? Because I've actually also been in church studios. I saw.
Have you?
Yeah. Because I work as a sound engineer, and I know Riley. I guess you met Riley.
Yeah, Riley's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a nice guy, man. I mean, he's just brilliant. And so him and Paul are literally so I met Paul because basically his kid and my kid are in the same class. It was literally like that gate, that kind of thing. And his wife Danielle is just one of the nicest people on earth, and my wife and her, we all get on really well.
Nice.
And I just it's one of those kind of things. It's like, oh, fuck, hello, have you seen this? It's one of those sorts of things.
That's awesome. Perfect.
They got such an incredible, and then obviously after Ed came down, I was obviously bigging up Paul when Ed was there, and then they connected, and so Ed's now been doing stuff at church studios.
Perfect.
And so they said, well, they want the circle, so we spent 3 days down in Circle church. Working on one of Ed's demos, and we had Reuters come in and film it all. And,
I saw that video.
Paul and Ed were like really sweet about allowing that to happen, and nice. So both of them have been so bloody brilliant in helping. Number one, give me the confidence that this is something worth pursuing, but then also openly sort of every post I put up, Ed's like, great, love it, can't wait for mine. It's just so
Awesome.
I don't think to do something like this, you need, Reuters would never come along if it wasn't for Ed. That's
Right.
And I just forever grateful that he's able to kind of use his pulling power to kind of promote the guitar.
Definitely, but I think it's also down to the quality of what you have created, because I don't think they would just do it on any random thing.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I mean, even so, it's like, it's good. So now, what's helpful is having him to say, well, what about this? And and because obviously, probably played 1.5, I don't know how many thousands of shows in front of people over his life. He knows about that, experience. So
definitely.
And I've not had anything like that.
No.
So I'm keen that this guitar and other things we use, are really well built and are great for the studio, but I really want them to be, used on stage as well.
Yeah. And I can definitely see that happening too.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. But could you tell us a bit more about the wheel? Because is the wheel that spins, you have, I don't know the number, but you have, is it 100 plus holes where you can put picks in?
Yeah, well, let me go and grab it.
Yeah, sure.
No. So it's not fixed at the moment, but yeah. So we've got check those out. It's a little experiment we're doing. So currently, there are 128 holes going around here, but you can see I've numbered them. We've got a laser cutter here, so it's just laser cut out. But actually, in virtually all the songs and things I've done, I've only really stuck with the 16 positions. We put it in here. We just thought, well, let's just shove it all in, because we've got a swing function, and I thought, I wasn't sure whether the swing function was going to work, so I thought, well, let's build in physical swing, as it were. So there's the opportunity just to put plectrums in late. This current version doesn't go below something like, I think, was it 40 RPM, something like that. But the next, when we upgrade it, this is what you can see, it's all hanging out. We've literally been, for the last month and a half, we've kind of rebuilt it from the ground up. And so it can go much slower now. So having more of those holes might have some use to it. But we also want to make it simple. We don't, and so I think we've improved the precision of the motor, which means actually we can have fewer plectrums. And still so many options. We don't need it to be, because what happens is you write something and then you've got to record where the plectrums are. And currently these are just very simple magnets that kind of hold and go in, but we're designing a whole new mechanism potentially so that everything is inbuilt. It's part of the wheel.
Right.
So you can. Yeah, so we're just working things out.
But so does that work as a type of sequencer then? Like how many plectrums you have is the amount of like strokes, I guess you can call it, or what do you call it?
Yes. So I mean, it's called circle guitar, named after Raymond Scott. Raymond Scott created the circle machine, which was basically a round disc, and it had light bulbs on it, and depending on how bright the light bulb was, it would affect either the pitch, or I think you could even add filters to it, and it span round. And it's like, he called it the circle machine. And I'm like, well, it's the closest thing, because after coming up with this idea a long time ago, it was like, I couldn't see anything else like it. That was the only thing I could find, and I didn't see it and think of this. It was after the fact, as I started to become interested in something, all these early instrument designers and makers, and I'm still, learning about these guys. I've kind of come at it from an innocent, object solve problems type designer mentality, but I'm still, wanting to study, Robert Moog and what he, the journey he went on,
right.
And Raymond Scott obviously being part of that story, and I don't know, it's like, still learning. Sorry.
It's fascinating. So I don't know how much in detail you can go, but so I understand you can also turn off each string, so to speak. So how the hell does that work because it looks like a normal guitar pickup, but I guess it's not.
But this has now not been used. It's just filling. It's actually it used to be there. This is a passive hex pickup. So each string is individually outputted.
Right.
But then I found later on there's this company called Sysify, and this is their active pickup. So each one of these modules is separated, and you can just repeat them. It's a modular pickup, and it looks smaller, but it's as powerful as a humbucker, and it's got very little coloration in the sound, so you can do whatever you want to it. And the guys who are doing that, the company's fantastic. They're really smart engineers. What we've currently got is we've cut the connection between here and the output, and simply just turn them on and off, so we can control when they're on or off by literally cutting the signal. What the original guitar did was when you what it would do is it would turn it off by diverting it through to these buttons. So every time you press the button, it will recreate the circuit. So then you can play the strings.
I see.
This ergonomically is not great. My fingers slip off. It's quite hard to play. Also, there's no attack or release on these, so that's something we're doing. So with this new version, we have got these are now CV buttons, so they go straight out into the Eurorack. So I can then use a hexaphonic ASR envelope to then either shut it down by the VCA, or I can do it much more fun as actually the filter. So every time I press it, it's like it's just it opens the string up that way. And this is something. The next version is going to be much more.
So they're independent CV outputs then, all the 6.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So that can control an envelope then, I guess, too, and stuff like that. Right.
Exactly. Or the other thing is it can trigger anything. You can set it up. Right. It doesn't have to turn the strings on and off. The first version literally just was string on, string off, and it was very brutal. And I put effects on it to try and make it sound better. But now we've got this lovely, just the ability to allow it to release and slowly fade out, and just a little bit of attack kind of makes it sound much nicer as well. So. And we're just looking at things like whether we there's a conceptual journey we're going on, because what we're trying to do as well is think about the types of people that would use this guitar. And currently we have modeled the sort of the professional player, as it were, who's not really, he's a guitarist, he makes his own music, but he's not really sitting in front of a DAW. He's not massively into menu diving. He wants to play, it's like, so we're creating a version for him or her, and then the other one is much more of the producer. Right. So we've got the professional and producer model. The producer model would obviously have everything going through Pro Tools or Ableton, and his recording studio is the musical instrument. Just happens, and this guitar enables them to kind of connect all this equipment together, and so we're trying to, because I can't talk about price yet because we haven't got a final price, but they're not cheap. They can't, we're not going to can't do it literally. There's so much that's gone into this. There's so much, the design and engineering is literally second to none. We're doing everything to be bulletproof, frankly, but we're trying to not have every guitar full of features, which is confusing. We're trying to make the concept as simple as possible to follow and purchase.
Yeah, definitely. But so, with the strumming thing, with the wheel, does that mean, obviously you have the speed, you said, was it 40 RPM or something? Was that it? Yeah,
it's going up to, currently it's between, we can get it down to like one RPM now, but it's going all the way up to about 250.
But so, I guess that's up to the user in the end, but does that mean they get the wheel or the pick can strum all the strings?
Yes.
Or can just, but can you do both, so to speak? Could you say this round of rotation you should play a chord and the next one just a note, for example?
Yeah, to a degree. Right. We've got, there's the way it's working. Obviously, you could make it play a chord and then maybe just play that one string and then bounce back again, the one, say the top E or the bottom E. But it will strike all the strings. It's just when you then amplify those strings, there's very, very, very little bleed between the strings on the pickup, so you are able to isolate and play individual strings. But yeah, there's no reason why you can't do it. But you could do that. I mean, and the sophistication we're building in is going to allow people to be very, very precise as to where the wheel's going. And as I say, it's not just going to be a continuous movement. It's going to be able to do little, kind of, it can strum back and forth, go really slowly, kind of, we can also just start, adding all sorts of different kind of swing values, so that you could start to get much looser with, as well as, but very precise, but in a loose way.
I mean, the possibilities are endless. Just listening to you talking, it's just like my head is just going, oh, maybe you can do that. I mean, you can essentially be a one-man band with that thing,
Yeah.
With a few synths, you're there.
Yeah. One use case is exactly that. Is having with the guitar being the time code, and drum machines coming in and out, synth lines coming in and out, because you're now potentially going to be able to play, if you wanted to play a bass line through a synth on these keys whilst this is playing. I mean, it's like my fear is that because it's there's so much flexibility, hopefully others will get into that. But my fear is that for many people, this is going to be like, this just go way beyond me. So I'm trying to make sure that we have a product for them, as well as a product for guys that really love and understand modular synthesis and how that all goes together, and thinks creatively about routing instruments together, and things like that. Understands that the recording studio is basically a giant musical instrument.
Exactly.
In different ways.
But I think that's also why you lined up perfectly with Paul and those guys, because he's massively into modular synths and
totally,
and they're doing all that sort of cool stuff.
Exactly, and there's all sorts of things happening. So we've got a new we're putting new controls on here. So this is actually a motorized fader.
Cool.
So we're actually adding things like haptic feedback, and you're going to be able to interact with this, and it will in different ways to affect guitar in different ways. So this is it's and again, it's like the combination. I guess the original idea, I mean, has to have been basically take a record deck and combine it with a guitar. It's that fader idea. It's not a million miles away. So,
awesome. I mean, I can't wait to see more of it, and maybe be able to try one at some point.
Yeah,
in the future.
well, I'm hoping this is literally the only one at the moment. So once we've kind of modified this to a point. This is like version 1.5.
Yeah.
We then went to version 2, and we'll always have a guitar. And we're down in Somerset House, so we're here to try and have a nice place for people to come and kind of demo it and have a go. And
nice.
I need to figure out some kind of demo routines, because this is the thing. I'm somebody who plays guitar hardly ever in front of anyone, and every time I pick it up, I play something different. And that's, for me, that's what guitar's always been about. It's like working something out, and as soon as I've worked something out, I get bored playing of it, so I try and come up with something. But obviously for something like this, I need to sort of just kind of have a little routine that I've got to figure out and just show
exactly.
Because it is, even like when Ed picked it up for the first time, and a few people who are really, who are great guitarists have picked it up for the first time, it's slightly confusing. For me, it's like I feel totally comfortable with it, and I've played it enough time. It sort of becomes quite second nature with certain things you can do, but it isn't when you first get hold of it. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? A couple of hours, and you get it. You start kind of exploring it and having fun, seeing what it can do.
Definitely, it sounds awesome, man, and looks very, very cool. But is there any, or did you have any like challenges or like favorite failures that happen, maybe still happening, developing this guitar?
I mean, to be honest, it took such a long time to get it holding time, and it wasn't until Luke came on and actually made it work, and it's not failed since then, I have to say. I mean, it literally has been rock solid.
Nice.
and I've for months, and I'm sure we've got to have some. I mean, we had a meeting last week and we didn't have everything ready in time, but we were able to talk about a lot of stuff. But that's the only kind of thing. Was like, we worked all weekend. We worked, but really tried to get it going. But it was we just needed an extra day. That was probably the only one I could really think about. But currently everything's working really well. There's a lot going on in it, but it's basically putting lots of existing technology and thinking about it, how they go together in a I guess in a new way. But it's not rocket science. It's there, but how it's all assembled and put together, and the efficiency of the code, and having the hardware and the software talk together, plus the concept of the whole thing coming together, is what's creating something relatively unique. And that's something we want to explore more of. There are other ideas that we have which are looking at this motor control for a variety of kind of instruments or devices, let's say, that we think could do something interesting. Because most people's idea of a wheel is it spins, it might break, go backwards, but it can do a whole lot more than that. There's obviously, stepper motors obviously do that. They're all over the place.
Yeah, it's very exciting, man. But so how do you power the whole thing? Is it just with a 9-volt battery, or does it need more?
It's 24 volts, I think, currently.
At the moment, yeah.
Yeah, it's 24 at the moment, but we're looking at different.
Is that just the battery? That's 24
No, we
volts?
plug it in. I mean, we decided that if you wanted a battery, you could buy one, stick it on your belt, and plug it in that way. So you could battery power it, but we don't want to weigh this down with a massive battery that many people probably wouldn't need. But if you're in a stadium rock band, then maybe you would want that, so you can run around and shred in front of I don't know how many people, but yeah.
But how much is 40 RPMs in BPMs? Is that a...
Well, it depends really what you do. So you could, with one pick, I think it's like we were kind of relating it 40 is 40, Right. So, but if I put in 2, then 40 would be 80.
Right.
This is the other thing we want to do, is like have a multiplication and a division. So you keep the sync speed going. So you're doing 120 BPM going through drum machines and stuff. So being able to also be 120, but then quickly go to 60, 30 or 15, or multiplications of that could be really interesting. And the other thing which is really musical is the phase option, because currently if you're just working on the beat, that's okay, but actually when you get this nice rhythm, but then you twiddle the phase round and get it on the offbeat, and suddenly sometimes it's just like, wow, that sounds amazing. Just as you can imagine, it kind of the beats come out in opposition to what the drum beats are doing, and and that's the thing. It's like it's for people who it's just fun to play around in, and I think on one level, like one of the reasons Paul was really interested in it is like the whole writer's block thing. You got band in, it's like nobody's quite sure what to do. You go, well, just give that to somebody, and as you cannot, you will not end up playing the same thing.
Exactly.
And from a designer's perspective, that's something that really interests me. It's like how an object and your interaction with an object can affect the outcome of what you're trying to do. And that happens. You hear guitarists talk about their 1960s Strat and how that feels, and then you go to say another guitar and they play very differently to that, and that's with a very traditional standard kind of instrument. So to then add all this other technology on top of it is just going to explode that even further.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have people like yourself and Luke was his name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, to push push things further, you know. Because I was talking to this producer, Michael Beinhorn.
Okay.
He's done some Audio Slave, Red Hot Chili Peppers, etc.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about, you know, how people, or he was saying how people should stop referencing the Beatles because we should have moved on from that by now. There should be another act that took music to the next level, like Beatles, for example. And
Yeah.
that's what I feel like you guys are doing. You know, you're taking, you know, all those people who love the Strats, like, well, fine, but that was also cool 60 years ago, you know. It's not cool anymore, really, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really cool what you guys are doing.
I love guitars. At the same time, I couldn't give a shit about guitars. You know, so
I'm the same way, I feel.
I love them, but I don't. You know, it's that they're a kind of means to an end, and but then again, you know, without being too pretentious, like the Beatles are always going to be there. It's like, you know, Shakespeare still influences writers. You know, you kind of, you know, it's always going to be there. But I guess what have you got with you know, in a world of the internet where YouTube can tell you how to make anything, you know, if anything, like any kind of DAW, you can find out, you know, for free how to do these, you know, these things I was saying earlier, like, you know, you had to read sound on sound, and, you know, and it was really difficult to kind of get that knowledge or work in the studio. And now it's like, you know, everyone's got access to the same tools, you know, and everyone's music is available over the internet. So you've got, you know, there's an education and a musical understanding now, which is way beyond. I'm 45, way beyond what when I was a teen. You didn't have all of that. You couldn't have. You had to buy it, you know, or listen to the radio, and it wasn't really available. But now you've got kids who've just got extraordinary, wide open, like, knowledge of music, and so, you know, what can you do with music? You can either rhythmically do something different, like, you know, you've got somebody. Great examples like Anna Meredith, who I'm a big fan of, and she's not only, you know, she's moving, you know, the structure of music around, but she's, you know, what she does in terms of the chord sequences and the changes and shift in you know, totally in unexpected ways. She's creating new music by doing that, but she's, you know, she's using relatively traditional sounds. There are other people who obviously using technology to make these incredible new synthesized sounds and samples that are pushed on, all the rest of it. So you've kind of got those options, haven't you? You've got the structure and you've got the sounds to play with. And I'm hoping that this guitar does both of those things. It's creating new structures by creating these rhythms that you can't do physically. You know, it's playing things that you literally couldn't do. And then because that's moving around, you're able to interact and get these kind of funny harmonics. And so you're getting these tones out of the guitar, which you kind of can't get any other way. And that's the thing that I'm hoping is the thing that kind of, like, at its core gets people to want to use it. You know, and then obviously you start shoving it into Eurorack, or, you know, and you can then rhythmically in time start to, you know, turn strings on and off, and, you know, do all sorts of things. And then again, it's like it's moved on again. So
exactly, yeah, it's very exciting. But Anthony, it's a real pleasure having you on and learning more about the guitar and you. And when can you give like a estimation of when it will come out? Is that possible?
I hope. Well, it's next year. I'm hoping that we can go public with who we're bringing out with and cost and such in January, February next year. The idea is only we're going to produce 20 of them. That's what we've decided, unless, you know, the demand suddenly goes. We announce it all and it all goes crazy. But I think we will do 20 to start with, and I want to get out and take it around to a few people. I want to get on this plane and go to LA and meet a few people out there and just try and you know, personally take it to places. It's not something you can just sort of, you know, send to people and go and have a go on that. You know, it needs a little, you know, I want to be able to sort of kind of introduce it to people and take people through it and go from there. But yeah, hopefully like available mid next year, if that all goes according to plan.
Awesome, man.
We're on track.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And where else can people find more info about you guys?
Circleinstruments.co.uk. Again, I haven't promoted that yet. We're still kind of developing our logo and things. But just to be honest, it's like get the guitar out and then everything else will follow. Circle Instruments, then YouTube. Obviously, every now and then, once this is back up and running, I'll probably do some more demos and get that out again. Those are the two places really.
Awesome, man. I'll leave links below so people can click it.
Yeah, or Instagram. Currently, it's currently under my Instagram. Circle Instruments has its own Instagram, but we've got no followers, no posts. It's sat there ready and waiting to go. I want to use that for when the guitar is available, and it's like the kind of the company page, and then my own personal one is all our kind of crazy experiments and what we do, going forward.
I'll leave a link to that anyway.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, man. But yeah, thanks again, Anthony.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Awesome.
Anytime.
Thank you, Anthony, for coming on to the show. It was a real pleasure talking to you, and I hope you, the listener, enjoyed it as well. Again, feel free to check out the Audio Tribe email list, get exclusive access to interviews before the public, and also a chance to ask up-and-coming guests questions. Feel free to join the Audio Tribe email list, but to subscribe to the YouTube channel or Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you are listening or watching this show. Your support really helps grow the channel, and we're growing slowly but steadily, and that's all thanks to you. Also, check out Anthony's YouTube channel. Definitely check out the Circle guitar. It's killer. It's really cool. Can't wait to get my hands on one and try it. Seems you can do endless stuff, which is really exciting. So check out his Instagram and YouTube page and all that. But last episode here in London. The next time I'll see you, it will be in Leeds. Can't wait. So take care, and I'll see you next week.